To name type 3 compounds, we're going to use a similar approach of type 2. We're going to start by naming the compound as a type 1, but instead of adding a Roman numeral, we're going to add a prefix. Looking at that according to our flow diagram, we're going to name it as a type 1. Once we see that it's not a type 1, it doesn't have a type 1 metal, we're going to check to see if it's a type 2. Once we see that it doesn't have a type 2 metal, as a matter of fact, it has no metal at all, it's a type 3, which is defined as 2 nonmetals, we're going to name it as a type 3. We're going to keep our type 1 name, but we're just going to add a prefix. As our original nomenclature grid stated. Well, let's do a few. NO, name it as a type 1, nitrogen oxide. But what would the second one be? That too would be nitrogen oxide. Well, at this point, you should be thinking, different molecules cannot have the same name. There must be something more to this. This is what you don't do. Why? Because this is not a type 2 compound. This is a type 3. It's 2 nonmetals. So what you need to do is add a prefix. What does the prefix represent? This time the prefix doesn't represent charge, it represents subscripts. So the Roman numeral represented charge, but the prefix represents subscripts. Don't forget that. As you go from type to type, you have to switch gears, as it were. Continuing on. If I draw the subscript, I have nitrogen monoxide. Mono meaning 1. What are the other prefixes? If you have a subscript of 2, the associated prefix is di. 3 is tri, 4 is tetra, 5 is penta, 6 is hexa, 7 is hepta, 8 is octa, 9 is nona, and 10 is deca. Those are the only prefixes you're responsible for memorizing. There are many more that are higher than 10, but you don't need to memorize those. Those will be given. By the way, a little inside ball, oxygen starts with a vowel and mono ends with a vowel, so normally one of those vowels is dropped. So in this case, the compounds become nitrogen monoxide, not nitrogen monoxide. How about the second one? It is dinitrogen monoxide. These are probably the easiest to name. One thing to remember is both positive and negative P's will always take a prefix except when the positive piece is mono. So it wouldn't be mononitrogen monoxide, it's just nitrogen monoxide. So a type 3 name can never begin with the prefix mono. Or as a nurse in one of my classes once put it, the first word can never catch mono. I guess you're right. That's one way to put it. But other than that, they're always going to have one. So let's do a couple you're familiar with that you have already put to memory. But nevertheless, now you can see why they are named what they're named. So let's look at the next two. Let's name it let's pretend we don't know it and name it as a type 1, carbon oxide. And what's the second one? Or the one just below, carbon oxide. Now let's name the first one. Let's show subscripts of 1 to remind us. So this would be monocarbon monoxide. But wait, we don't put a mono before the first one. So it's carbon monoxide. And you already knew that. And this next one is what? Carbon dioxide. So top 3 compounds are easiest to recognize and easiest to name. To recognize them, if you've got a binary compound, both of them are nonmetals, it's got to be a type 3 name. The other one is, you don't worry about anything but the subscripts. Just put the prefix for whatever subscript you see and you're done. Practicing a few type 3 going in the name to formula direction. Let's work this. I can see the two pieces. I have a boron, and I have a fluoride, and I have 3 fluorides. That's it. Dinitrogen pentoxide. I have a nitrogen, I have an oxygen, I have 2 nitrogens, and I have 5 oxygens. That's the correct formula for dinitrogen pentoxide. Carbon monoxide. I have 1 carbon and I have 1 oxygen, and it's monoxide, so I don't show the 1 on the 0. Type 3 compounds, very easy to name, whether it's in the formula to name direction or name to formula.